They buried our truth, called us lost, forgotten, divided, but inside every black soul is a code, a memory of greatness, waiting to be awakened. Black Box Wisdom is your call to relearn, reconnect, and rebuild with Africa and the world. Truth, identity, unity. It's time to unlock what's been hidden too long. Black Box Wisdom. Relearn, reconnect, rebuild. Subscribe now.
The Black Church has some soul searching to do. As a cornerstone of the African American community and psyche, a place of worship, yes, but also so much more. It has been a source of strength, solace, and inspiration for generations. But its story is not a simple one because it was coming from the same people that oppressed us. It is a story marked by both pain and purpose, by oppression and liberation. From its very beginnings, the Black Church has been intimately intertwined with the experience of slavery for psychological reinforcement. Enslaved Africans were reintroduced to Christianity, not as a message of love and redemption, but as a tool of control. Stripped of their ancestral beliefs, they were force-fed a distorted version of the gospel, one that emphasized obedience and subservience. Yet, even in the face of such adversity, the spirit of our ancestors could not be extinguished. Enslaved Africans found ways to make Christianity their own, infusing it with their own cultural traditions and turning it into a source of hope and resistance. This duality, this tension between oppression and liberation, lies at the very heart of the Black Church experience. It is a legacy that continues to shape and challenge the Black Church today. And it is a legacy that we must grapple with if we are to truly understand the devastating role of religion in the Black experience. To understand the depths of religious manipulation during slavery, one need look no further than the chilling artifact known as the Slave Bible. This abridged and distorted version of the Bible was specifically designed for enslaved populations in British colonies. Imagine a Bible stripped bare of any passages that spoke of freedom or liberation, a Bible that omitted entirely the Exodus story, with its powerful message of God's deliverance of the Israelites from bondage. This was the Slave Bible. Instead, it was filled with carefully selected passages that emphasized obedience to authority, even if that authority was cruel and unjust. Passages like Ephesians chapter 6, verse 5. Slaves, obey your earthly masters with respect and fear, were highlighted. This manipulation of Scripture was a deliberate and insidious tactic. The goal was clear: to use the Bible itself to reinforce the institution of slavery, to convince enslaved Africans that their plight was divinely ordained. This perversion of faith is a stain on the history of Christianity. It is a stark reminder of how religion has been twisted and used as a weapon of oppression. While the Slave Bible stands as a testament to the ways in which religion was wielded as a tool of oppression, some elements of the Black Church emerged as powerful forces for liberation. Within its walls, some enslaved Africans found not only solace and spiritual sustenance, but also a space to organize and resist. Hidden from the watchful eyes of slaveholders, clandestine gatherings and hush harbors became the breeding ground for a new kind of thinking. A belief that dared to believe in a God who saw their suffering and empowered them to stand up for their freedom. It was in these gatherings that spirituals were born. These soulful songs of sorrow and hope became anthems of resistance, coded messages of longing for deliverance and subtle calls to action. The Black Church, far from being a tool of pacification, was a crucible of liberation. This legacy of resistance continued long after the physical chains of slavery were broken. The Black Church became the heart and soul of the civil rights movement. Its pulpits became platforms for prophetic voices like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who dared to challenge the status quo and call for an end to segregation and discrimination until he recognized the error of his strategy at the end of his young life. While the Black Church has been instrumental in the struggle for liberation, it is important to remember that our spiritual journey did not begin with enslavement. Long before the theft and repackaging of Christianity, our ancestors in Africa had their own rich and diverse spiritual traditions. These traditions, often dismissed as pagan or primitive, were in fact complex systems of belief and practice that provided meaning, purpose, and a deep connection to the divine. They celebrated the interconnectedness of all things, the sacredness of nature, and the importance of community. Unfortunately, the transatlantic slave trade sought not only to exploit the bodies of our ancestors, but also to erase their cultural and spiritual identities. We were forbidden from practicing our traditional religions and forced to adopt the religion of our oppressors. Vodun, Ifa, Akan, echoes of the divine. Let us delve deeper into the rich tapestry of African spiritual traditions, exploring some of the diverse belief systems that thrived on the African continent long before colonization. Vodun, often misrepresented in popular culture, is a tradition originating in West Africa that honors a pantheon of deities, each representing different aspects of the natural world and human experience. It emphasizes a deep connection with ancestors and the importance of maintaining balance between the spiritual and material realms. Ifa, practiced among the Yoruba people of West Africa, is a divination system that provides guidance and insight into life's challenges. Through elaborate rituals and the interpretation of sacred texts, Ifa practitioners seek to align themselves with the will of the divine and live in harmony with the universe. The Akan people of Ghana and Ivory Coast hold fast to their ancestral traditions, which center around the concept of Kra, the life force that animates all beings. Akan spirituality emphasizes the importance of community, respect for elders, and living in accordance with ethical principles. These are just a few examples of the diverse and vibrant spiritual traditions that have flourished in Africa for centuries. They offer a glimpse into the spiritual worldviews that our ancestors carried with them across the Middle Passage. A legacy of chains and chariots, the two faces of religion. The story of religion in the African experience is a complex tapestry woven with threads of both oppression and liberation. On one hand, we have seen how religion was used as a tool of control during slavery, how scriptures were manipulated to justify the subjugation of an entire people. We have seen how the slave Bible, stripped of its message of freedom, was used to reinforce the chains of bondage. Yet we have also witnessed the extraordinary power of faith to uplift and inspire. We have seen how, even in the darkest of times, enslaved Africans found solace and strength in their belief in a God who saw their suffering and heard their cries. The Black Church, born out of the crucible of slavery, emerged as a beacon of hope, a sanctuary of resistance, and a catalyst for social change. It was within the walls of the Black Church that the civil rights movement found its moral compass, its unwavering commitment to justice, and its unshakable belief in the power of love to overcome hate from a people that never intended to change or tell the truth. Reclaiming our narrative, reinterpreting scriptures for our mental liberation. As we move forward, it is essential that we continue to engage in the critical work of reclaiming our narrative, of reinterpreting scriptures through the lens of our own African experiences. We must ask ourselves, whose interests are served by certain interpretations of the Bible? Who benefits from a theology that emphasizes obedience and submission over justice and liberation? We must dare to challenge traditional interpretations of scripture that have been used to justify oppression and inequality. We must delve deeper into the liberating message of the kingdom, the message of radical love, social justice, and the inherent dignity of all people. Let us remember that the kingdom is a living document written in our DNA, one that continues to speak to us across the centuries. It is up to us to interpret its message in a way that is relevant to our lives and overcomes our struggles. We must read the Bible with a critical eye asking ourselves how it can be used as an instrument for our fight to challenge injustice and promote liberation in our own lifetime. Toward a liberated faith integrating African spirituality in the Black church. While reclaiming our narrative within our daily spiritual traditions is essential, we must also be open to exploring the rich spiritual heritage that predates our encounter with Christianity. Integrating elements of African spirituality into the life of the modern Black church is not about abandoning your Christian faith, but rather about rediscovering the fullness of our African spiritual heritage. Imagine a modern church that embraces the use of drums and dance in worship, that incorporates rituals and symbols from African traditions, that honors the ancestors and celebrates the interconnectedness of all things. This is not a betrayal of your faith, but rather a return to the holistic spirituality that characterized our ancestors' relationship with the divine. By creating space for African spirituality within the modern Black church, we can begin to heal the wounds of the past, reclaim our stolen legacy, and forge a more empowering and authentic expression of faith in ourselves that pushes us to rebuild together. A new dawn, a new hope, embracing our full selves. The journey toward a liberated faith is a journey of self-discovery, a journey of reclaiming our voices, our stories, and our spiritual heritage. It is a journey that requires us to confront uncomfortable truths, to challenge the status quo, and to embrace the fullness of who we are. As we move forward, let us do so with courage, unity, wisdom, strength, and purpose, and with an unwavering commitment to justice and liberation. Let us build a future where the Black church is a place where all are welcome, where our voices are heard and respected, and where our spirits are nourished. Let us embrace the fullness of our heritage, the beauty of our diversity, and the power of our collective spirit. Let us create a world where the Black church is a beacon of hope, a sanctuary of healing, and a catalyst for transformative change.
If this stirred something in you, that's not by accident. You're part of a global family that's rising. This is just the beginning. Don't just watch. Join the mission. Share this message. Add your voice. Let's build a future we were always meant for.